Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to Gettin' Savvy in Health, Wealth, and Beauty. Important to note that everything is for entertainment purposes only. Please do speak and meet with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. And also, please meet and speak with your GP before making any health or beauty decisions. Okay, we are live now, Gettin' Savvy in Health and Wealth, and we have an expert within eye care. Melissa, I'll actually have you do the intros since that's how we are getting connected here.
Yeah, sure. So we have Dr. Neel Vyas, optometrist, owner of St. Clair Eye Clinic, and a fellow tennis player on the pod today. And, its eyes have been in the news recently, and I feel like because everybody's on their screen so much, a lot of people are complaining about vision. And I've actually referred a lot of patients to Dr. Vyas for various eye concerns or eye complaints. So I just thought it would be a great idea to have him on, and we can talk about some, topics relating to our vision. There was also a new drug I saw that was approved that I want to talk about also and get his thoughts on it. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Is this the first financial / healthcare podcast?
Yes. Thank you for noticing.
The first and best.
Every single listener.
And
I'm sure anyone can pick up something from all your podcasts.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, the idea is, if you have wealth, you certainly want your health and vice versa. Yeah. And it really goes hand in hand. And rather than just focusing on all these verticals in life, I think just the combination of talking about the things that really matter to us and understanding them should be, hopefully useful, but also it's inspiration and aspirational. And, Dr. Melissa and I, we've always been learning from each other. And that's where the idea stemmed from. These would be our conversations when the two of us would just go for drinks, right? We're talking about investing. We're talking about health. What can we do? So that was the genesis of it. So
who doesn't want both?
You want both, yeah.
Yeah.
So do people call you Dr. Neel or do they call you?
Neel's fine.
Neel's okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's interesting when I said to one of my girlfriends that we were having you on today, she was so happy and glad because she said, we focus so much on our bodies and our skin and that. And she herself was just thinking about the importance of her health for her eyes, her eye health. So, I don't know, Melissa, if you've got some specific questions, but is that how you think about it, I guess?
It's a polarizing body part. I'll give you one example. We have one guy in the office. He's a medical marvel. He's had quite a life. He, multiple drug user, alcoholic, in and out of rehab, in and out of prison, got his life back on order, but he's had a lung transplant, both hips replaced, needs a knee replaced, has spinal stenosis, has heart failure, walks around with an oxygen tank, a cane, but nothing ruins his day more than dry eyes. Because he said, everything else keeps me propped up. I have pain pills, I have walkers, I have free air I can turn up and down, but when my eyes are dry, can't watch Netflix, can't read a book.
Yeah.
Real.
Out of everything going on for him, out of his crazy, epic life, simple dry eyes ruins his day.
I remember my grandmother who's now passed away, but same thing. She had emphysema, she had, chronic bronchitis, she had diabetes, she was an insomniac. But the thing that bothered her most was towards the end of her life, she was losing her vision. And so she couldn't, it just feels like she couldn't watch a program, she couldn't see things, she couldn't read a book. And so I remember years ago, I was trying to teach her how to listen to an audiobook. Well, that didn't go well. Although fast forward 10 years now, I think people are much more familiar with that technology.
Yeah.
Listen to audiobooks and podcasts and stuff. But it's really hard, and it scares me too, because I'm at that stage in life, where I'm starting to get presbyopia, which I want you to talk about. What is presbyopia? Why is it that in midlife, we start to have a hard time seeing up close and we start doing this? What's
So the general way that our eyes work is when we look far away, our eyes are relaxed. When we look up close, some muscle kicks in. After 40, that muscle starts to get weak. And as those years progress, after 40, it gets weaker and weaker. So people either need reading glasses or bifocals or take their glasses off to read, but some adjustment up close. And for a lot of people who've had perfect vision their whole life, it's really hard to reconcile.
Yeah.
We can't function up close without help. So the majority.
And there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like it's just bad luck. It's not like bad luck that some people get it. Are you saying
It's
Everybody
not
gets
good
it?
health, bad health. It's not, I mean, you could be a pack-a-day smoker or a triathlete and you're getting presbyopia.
Yeah, it just happens. It's just the muscle peters out.
Yeah.
Got it. So I wanted to sort of talk about, so I mean, that's why, you know, it's one of the telltale giveaways of your age, especially if you're on a date or if you're at a restaurant or with somebody and you can't see the menu and you're kind of like doing this. So a lot of people bring their reading glasses, and I've seen a lot of different like interesting ones lately that don't have the full like, the necklace with the glasses. Some people just have like the lenses,
Yeah.
but then, I haven't got there yet. Like I haven't had to bring a pair of reading glasses like to a restaurant or to read a menu.
You never will. You
And I
never
never
will.
Oh,
will. But
you will
wait, but I'll
crack the
tell you
code.
why I never will. Because so, I might not, because I might not, I might just tell somebody what to order for me, sure. But there's this new drug now that came out that was just FDA approved, and it's called Viz. Okay.
Yeah.
So VIZ. What I understand is it's the first eye drop to treat presbyopia. It doesn't cure it, but for the short term, you put it a drop in both eyes, and all of a sudden you explain it.
So it's actually an old glaucoma drug called pilocarpine, which they're using in a much lower dose to constrict the pupil. So the pupil is the black hole in the middle of our eye that we used to look through, and the pupil's main function is to allow light into the eye. And so at night it dilates to allow more light into the eye. In a bright room or in the sun, it constricts. When it constricts, though, it sharpens someone's focus, and so it's essentially constricting the pupil at a much
Ah,
lower dose than typical pilocarpine. Now, the issues with it are if you're taking it and your pupil is constricted, your night vision is quite poor because now it doesn't have the ability to dilate to allow more light in. So that'll affect you in a movie, in a dim corner of a restaurant, that's the situation you're describing,
Mm.
but also driving at night. And for an elderly person, well, 45 is not elderly. I mean, I'm much older than that. But this would only work in someone's 40s and 50s, anyways. It's
hmm.
too much to overcome in someone's 60s or 70s. So night driving becomes a real concern. Aside from that,
Reverse it though?
well, it wears off.
Or can you just pop in a little bit of dilator? Because when you go to the eye
That
doctor,
doesn't work. If you pop in a
oh,
dilator, then it super dilates, and you have the opposite problem. Now you can't read at all. It's even worse.
okay.
If people
Wow.
super dilated, and it won't constrict if you go into a bright room. So that model doesn't work. But the
So one
brow,
eye. We make
yeah,
it look really weird. You got one little pupil,
yeah,
one.
you might need a parrot on your shoulder as a pirate. But
Mhm.
one of the big issues with the drug is a brow ache.
Oh,
People get an ache in their brow, and it's a significant percentage of users. So
oh.
this drug works in a very specific situation. The success
Hmm.
rate touted by a lot of the companies is quite high because if they say, "Here, take the drug. Now can you read?" and you answer yes,
They say it's good.
success.
There you
What
go.
you're about to
There you
say
go.
is yes, but, and that's
Hmm.
not cataloged. So the
Mhm.
but is the brow ache, the but is headaches, the but
Hmm.
is my night vision is really not usable, and then the other but for some people it lasts too long. The next morning their pupil is still constricted. Other people it
Wow.
lasts 30 minutes. It's
But
not
is it still, but from what I read, it says that you see better up close, but it doesn't affect your far vision. Like you can still see far as well.
In a perfect world, yes, but when your pupil constricts, it does affect your far vision, especially at night.
It doesn't sound like it's something then that you would really recommend.
We don't use it at all. If someone comes in and says, "I'm really, really motivated to try this," we do it. I'd say my success rate in those people who are highly motivated, and Melissa, as you may know, in highly motivated patients, the success rate goes way up of any
Yeah.
treatment or any drug. I'd say it's about 30% in
Hmm.
highly motivated people. So
Yeah.
that's not to say there's no role for this or it doesn't work. I just don't think it's treatment for presbyopia.
And not only that, like if you're sitting at home and you're just reading a book, I'm not going to go put a drop in. I'll just grab some reader. It's just as easy and it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
comfortable and easy. So I think people, why would you want any side effect of having brow
Mhm.
ache or anything like that when you can just have this easy
Yeah.
solution?
And there's also
But
contact lenses that allow people to see far and near that are fairly successful.
Hmm.
okay,
Cur-
I would try it though, just to out of curiosity.
I would not try that.
It's not a long-term thing. It's just one
I
day.
know, but it doesn't.
I just try things,
But are you struggling up close right now?
Not enough to ever wear readers, but enough that I get a bit of a strain. So I think I'm sensitive that I'm working that muscle
Well,
hard.
professionally, are you ever looking at someone's blemish or putting in a needle, or are you compromised at work up close?
Not yet. So if I have to look at something up close, let me show you. I'm going to show you right now.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see I have these glasses that I put on
Oh,
that are
Lovely.
magnifiers.
There it is.
Yeah,
yeah, that's smart.
and they also, wait, they also light up so I can see and I can really
Yeah.
get in there. And that way I can like really see if I'm looking at a mole or something where I need to get up close. But if I'm just doing a general treatment like Botox or filler or something, no, I'm not compromised yet. But I would say
Mm.
in a couple years, I'll probably want to wear something.
So we're talking about something that, it's age related, not much we can do about it. When we think about the health of one's eyes,
Hmm.
because we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about some of the cosmetic things that I've been hearing about lately for
Yeah.
your eyes. But, when you think about health, I've heard that in some countries, they really promote the use of vitamin A.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard that or think about that, but what do you recommend to people?
Yeah.
And we'll get into
So,
screen time too.
yeah. So we'll talk about overall health first. Now, the issue I have with vitamins is they're used without a scientific approach too much, in my opinion. To me, real science is doing a blood test on you, seeing where
Hmm.
you're deficient, putting you on those products, doing another blood test down the road, making sure your numbers are up, and then saying continue. But on top of that, you better continue the same brand because you might absorb a different brand differently. To me, that's science. In the eye world, I don't think there's a lot of blood work going on for vitamin deficiencies. I
Should there
still think,
be? Should there be?
well, I still think it comes down to I can't say there's a lot of solid evidence. There's things like ocular nutrition societies and things like that, but I have to say there's a financial aspect tied to it. And that's not to say it doesn't work, but there is a bit of a grain of salt when someone says you need these vitamins without science to support that you as a patient need them. And by the way, we'll
Hmm.
sell you a year's supply on the way out. I
So
just
you
think
Right.
haven't
that can
seen
be
any evidence. So you haven't seen any evidence that's good enough to support you recommending these vitamins to your patients for their eyes.
to me, it comes down to it's not rocket science. Never smoke, barely drink, 85% of the time eat healthy. There's nothing wrong with nachos and chicken wings, but we all know it should be a small percentage of the time. And keep moving, be active. That
Mhm.
benefits every body part. So that's what I mean by it's not rocket science, but
I know I always say the
will
same
still
thing to
work.
my patients. It's not rocket science, but the thing is, nobody does it.
No, you're right.
You
You're right.
know,
There's
so
a
like
lot of
the other patients will say to me, okay, that's great advice.
yeah,
But if I am going to smoke and I'm not going to move and I'm overweight and I
right.
drink, can I take a vitamin? Right? That's what
Yeah,
I get.
yeah.
So is there any role for any, like to make up for those,
The best advice I can say is there's definitely no harm,
yeah, and taking something?
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
Uh, in any of these vitamins. And there are specific eye vitamins marketed specifically that way. There's absolutely no chance of any harm with them.
And
Which
what would those be? Have you heard this, that vitamin A, I think it's used quite a bit in Asia. That's what I was told.
it's
And
not something I actively recommend to specifically take vitamin A.
okay, interesting. What about what are you seeing as it relates to screen time and eye care? Are you
The screen time
seeing
is a
eyes
huge issue because
huge issue?
yeah, none of us can get away from it. We're all professionals in three different jobs here who all have lots of screen time. Kids now are raised on screen time. I mean, it's probably belays my age, but I was still raised that if we bought a new fridge, I could play with the box it came in for a few weeks, right?
Right.
Different time. So the main issue with screen time is irritation with the eyes is either occurring or it's gonna. It's a certainty for everyone. And the reason why is when we look at a screen, the tendency is to stare. When you stare, you don't blink as much. The average blink rate, there was some study done in the UK where they observed the blink rate of not just a few hundred people, but a couple thousand people. And the average person at a screen, and by screen I mean laptop, desktop distance, blinks 70% less. Okay, so
Wow.
that's a significant amount. One day at a time makes no difference. A week at a time makes no difference. But for almost all of us, this is going to be decades from the age of what, 8 to 80? It's your whole life, right? There's very few jobs away from the screen. So the principles that work, farther is better. Okay, so the TV on the wall is better to watch TV than your device. A
Huh.
desktop arm's length monitor is better than your laptop, and your laptop is better than your cell phone. So whenever you can,
Wow.
farther is better. And then the second one, the very obvious and almost impossible one, is less. Difficult for
Interesting.
most people to accomplish.
Again, so, but is there any damage, specific damage that they say?
No,
So let's say
no,
you
there's no
are going to,
damage. No,
it won't damage it.
there's
It
no
just,
damage to the
it's just
tissue,
uncomfortable.
irritation and dryness and watery eyes. And
What are you finding is the best solution for dryness? I'm hearing a lot of
Yeah.
friends are really experiencing that. And I don't know if it's some has to do with a bit of the heat this summer as well. I'm not sure.
Well, one thing, the other X factor this summer, so one, the oppressive heat means everywhere you go, the AC's blasting even more, so it's drier. But also our air quality has been an issue.
Yeah.
The forest fires, I mean, some days you can smell it. And we see a lot of emergencies at my office, probably 2 to 5 a day. And Melissa, that's how you and I met. You just sent me a couple of people who were in dire straits. So the amount of steroid eye drops we're prescribing on a weekly basis is probably 40% more than last year.
And is that
Whenever
because
someone has dryness, what they have is inflammation. It's not an infection, so you don't need antibiotics, you need a steroid. And that's where it's really important to visit the right person to get those diagnoses, and you start feeling better quicker.
and that's presenting with redness and pain?
Redness, it can be swelling around the eyes and the eyelids. It can be redness in the eyes, yes. It can also be a bulging of the white tissue of the eyes. It's called
What?
conjunctivitis.
Neil, one of my friends has that. She's had an eye issue for a number of months now.
Yeah.
It's almost as though I think they say it's like a sty, but it's not. It's like a bulge. It's a bulging.
So the steroid is almost always missing in those cases.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's a family doctor, a walk-in clinic, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have a microscope to look at the eye. I mean, it's not, they just don't have they don't have the equipment to look at it. And, the other X factor now is pharmacies are allowed to evaluate and prescribe for these. And I'm saying this as a man who is married to a clinical oncology pharmacist. Okay. Pharmacists are not taught in a diagnostic way. Yet our OHIP system now has them a billing code to diagnose and treat.
Wow.
And it doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah. So they're mainly giving eye drops for people that have like pink eye or red eyes that usually don't even need them, that are associated with like a viral infection.
well, so that's interesting. Now, the whole pink eye, red eye world, the vast majority of them are treated with antibiotics because the presumption is that these are bacterial infections. The reality is maybe 1 out of 10 needs an antibiotic. It has to be determined whether the pink/red comes from, as you said, virus. Is it allergic? Is it inflammatory? Is it environmental? Is it screen based? Is it based on vices if someone drinks or smokes a lot? Is there a systemic disease, autoimmune or connective tissue disorder causing it? You need a proper eye exam, and that kind of gets to the treatment quicker. Antibiotics are rarely needed.
Yeah.
And one of my friends as well, sometimes she'll get really red eyes and they're dry, but she also was told to stop doing fake eyelashes because the glue's so bad. I do use fake.
Our eyelashes are like a brush, right? The thicker the brush, the more you trap in it. And it is as simple as that. The stuff we trap is skin sloughing off and environmental items and protein from your tears, and your quality of your tear film becomes worse. So fake eyelashes will only ever result in worse eye comfort.
Worse eye comfort.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess there's nothing wrong with getting them, but it's like anything. Should they be on 365 days a year? No. If they're short term, then yeah, for sure. But maybe it shouldn't be all day, every day for a whole year. As far as dryness for anyone that is a screen-based job, the very simple, low-tech fix is an over-the-counter lubricant morning and night and a warm compress once a day without even examining someone's eyes. That will give them short-term relief immediately in almost every case.
Do you get addicted to it though? Like, this is what I worry about. Like, you know how they say don't use Visine every day because then you're going to always need it and your eyes are going to be naturally red. Don't use Otrivin for your nose because you'll need it. So I worried if I'm going to use natural tears, are my eyes going to stop producing natural tears?
But that's an interesting comparison. So the problem with Visine is it's a vasoconstrictor. That means it constricts the blood vessels. So all it does is make the eye look less red. It doesn't treat the cause of the redness, be it dryness, allergic, viral, bacterial, whatever it is. So it makes the eye look better temporarily. As the effect of the Visine wears off, the blood vessels swell again and you look red again. So yeah, you can get a rebound inflammation, which is twice as bad as the first one if you use Visine too much. Whereas an artificial tear is just lubricating irritated tissue. But it's not, to take a lubricant eye drop is not stronger than using chapstick or putting cream on our hands. None of
You know,
us have
that's
the issue
really
with
good
the
to think
anti-aging.
about because I put on
Sorry.
moisturizer every day for my
Yeah.
skin. Why aren't I doing that for my eyes? Maybe we
And we're
just,
definitely beating our eyes up more than almost
yeah,
anybody with all the screens. So
there you
when people,
go.
Wait, so
I often give a recommendation of two drops a day, and I say the word forever.
Yeah, I think it's
Forever? Yeah,
interesting.
forever. Yeah.
Okay, so we should be using lubricants for eyes.
Mhm.
What type though? Because when I've put them in, and I feel like the lubricant ones are always small bottles, but
Yeah.
when I put it in, it's almost a cloudy for a moment. Is that normal?
Yeah, you are adding more liquid to the eye, and it does temporarily change the prescription in your eye. It's like putting on a contact lens for a short time.
Okay.
So it's kind of like anything. I mean, is there a best skin cream? I mean, all three of us might have a different one that works better for our skin, right? So there's not a best. It
Okay.
really is. I mean,
But
without being partisan to a specific company, there's a lot of good options out
okay. What
there.
about
I always feel like the best products from the biggest companies, they have the most R&D. That's the way to go.
Hmm.
definitely. What about, so when we're talking about Visine, the new one that I've started to use, I don't use Visine, but Lumify,
Yeah.
and that makes your eyes white,
And have you
apparently.
tried it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing, right? You
it's
can almost
amazing.
see your eye like paint white.
Yeah. So,
But
but
it's great for a photo shoot, for a podcast like this, for a wedding photo, but it doesn't treat the issue that made your eye red.
And don't use it every day, right?
Right.
Because then you might start depending on it and get
Yeah.
rebound redness all the time.
Lumify is great to have for an interview, for a board meeting, for a podcast thing like this. But to Melissa's point, every day is a bad idea.
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
There's a few other eye products I want to talk about that I
Yeah.
will get your take on it. So the first one is this Latisse.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I've used it. So wasn't this a glaucoma treatment as
Yeah.
well?
So this
Turned
is this
into
is just like the pilocarpine. This is a
it.
weaker dose of a glaucoma drug.
Yeah. And I guess they're found the side effect. So was the Viz discovered because people were reporting that they
Yes.
noticed and then they repurposed it as that. So they were noticing they were seeing better up close, they repurposed it. So this is like this Latisse. I
Hmm.
guess people with glaucoma were using it and they were noticing their eyelashes were super long and full. So they remarketed this as Latisse.
Yes. So
And
when people are on these glaucoma drugs, you can see them across the room. It's usually an elderly person, just because that is the average population with glaucoma, and they look like fake eyelashes. They have these
yeah,
lovely, big, kind of sweeping eyelashes.
yeah.
Now, the issue with the glaucoma drops, there's two side effects. So there's one's the eyelashes, which most people love, but it also causes a change in the anatomy of the eye. This is documented in almost every case of glaucoma medication of that class, that the eye almost looks like a black eye.
What?
So it's a very interesting thing, and it's shifted. I was talking with the glaucoma surgeon at Toronto Western Hospital, and I told him, I don't get it. I don't get why this is still the first line of treatment. I've gone back to a beta blocker because there's almost no downside to it. There's almost no adverse effect. And he said he's done the same thing. And this is the
Huh.
glaucoma surgeon at Toronto Western Hospital. So him and I are on the same page about this. Now, Latisse,
Sorry, but what do you mean by that? So you're not going to use the traditional medicine that was used for glaucoma, you're doing a beta blocker. What does that even mean?
so yeah, maybe I should qualify. So beta blocker is the good old standard. Okay, it's been used for 50 years and it's very effective. This class of medication came out and it's slightly more effective. And you only have to use it once a day instead of twice a day. But there's this significant shift in the anatomy of the eye that someone's eyes look sunken and you get these dark
Ugh.
things around it.
Now, does
And
that happen if you're only using it for Latisse, like in the low
well,
dose,
Latisse
only
seems
putting it
to
on the
be,
eyelid?
yeah, because they've reduced the concentration so much, it just has the desired effect.
Yeah.
Drug
Using it,
is,
because if you stop using it, you lose all the benefit.
yes, you are in forever. The issue with the other drug is some people have monocular glaucoma, so only in one eye. And I've almost called it malpractice to start that medication on that patient
Hmm.
because they're going to have one eye that looks sunken and dark with twice the length of eyelash than the other eye. And the patient is very obvious across the room.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, like how common is glaucoma?
It's not very common. It's
It's
a
not
low
common.
single digit percentage of the population, but it is
Oh,
also very undiagnosed. I mean, it's a population thing too. Like any racial demographic, certain demographics are more at risk for certain things. So Black population is number one for glaucoma. I work
Mm.
at a volunteer clinic in Jamaica where I'd say 8 out of 10 people I see there of the impoverished population of Jamaica have glaucoma.
Let's talk about cataracts, because you mentioned that, like presbyopia, you can't avoid cataracts. You
Yes.
also can't avoid.
Cataracts are a certainty in everyone's life. It's an age-related change behind the colored part of our eye. We're all born with a lens. After about 60 years, that lens starts to cloud. And from the first report of clouding, which is a cataract,
Mhm.
it's about a 12 to 15-year march to the clouding being so significant you need cataract surgery. So the average age for cataract surgery is in our early 70s, but it's give or take 20 years. It can go right from our mid 50s right up to 90. It's the only body part that's guaranteed to need surgery if we have a normal lifespan. Okay, so
Hmm.
cataract surgery is they take your cloudy lens out. So it's like you're looking through a dirty window, which gets progressively dirtier as years go on, and they can put a new one in. That's where all the technology is. So that's when they can make you see far and near. There's multifocal implants. It's life changing for a lot of elderly people. They've had this gradually dimming vision for 5 or 10 years, and now all of a sudden, it's brighter than it's ever been. And then they have that forever.
And
And
you,
are you better off
yeah.
to do that on the earlier side or
You
midway
are.
through?
There's some challenges with that on the financial side. So OHIP will only cover cataract surgery when your vision's bad enough. A private clinic can accomplish your cataract surgery on day one of diagnosis. The
Hmm.
advantages of doing it early are everything except the price. Okay, you're younger and healthier than anyone will be 5 or 10 years later, so you heal quicker. Two, you don't have to deal with the 5 to 10 years of diminishing vision. Three, you get your vision corrected sooner. The only negative is you got to pay a few $1,000. And there's
Unless,
nothing wrong with
yeah.
OHIP surgery. OHIP surgery is a good quality, high level, very competent, great result level of surgery. Private is better. And
Oh,
that's a very, there's two tiers of care for certain body parts in Ontario, and the eyeball is one.
Okay.
interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I guess I kind of do when you hear about these clinics, but I didn't think of
Yeah.
it in those
Like
terms.
you can't go pay for heart surgery, for example. Right?
Right.
You can't pay out of pocket for front of the line, better quality heart surgery.
Why is that? Why is it different? Why is it different than a joint replacement?
Good question.
That's a very good question. I'm not sure I know the answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Um,
honestly, I think it has nothing to do with healthcare. That's a political slash financial.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's political for sure. Melissa, you and I talked too about, I just learned about this one the other day that there's some products, it's called high-low, that can make your eyes bigger. Can you tell me if that's
No,
true and what that's called?
high-low is a lubricating.
High-low is a lubricant.
So
Okay.
Unique is the one I spoke to you about. Have you heard of this one or no? Because that's what the marketed brand name is. It is, I think I wrote down the oxymetazoline. So it's a drop that contracts the eyelid. So I know of it because for patients, it's a if someone had ptosis as a result of Botox,
Hmm.
or if they just have acquired like blepharoptosis, like a droopy eyelid, this
Yeah,
is a drop that can give you more eye show because it contracts the eyelid.
I'm aware of it, but I have to say I don't have a lot of knowledge about it.
Right,
Hmm.
because it's not so it's more cosmetic as opposed to therapeutic, unless
Right.
you're someone that has this ptosis as a result of a side effect from Botox. But I've actually had some people just naturally have a bit of a droopy eyelid, just
Hmm.
naturally, the muscle's weak. And when you use it, I've actually seen it be quite effective.
Yeah, so some of the side effects, I just, a quick little search there, can be irritated red eyes, like any eye drop you put in your eye.
Hmm.
But yeah, it does seem in mild to low level moderate conditions that it can help a little bit. A
Yeah.
droopy eyelid's almost a certainty too. Part of it is the skin on top here, just we all get a little less taut as the years go on, right?
Hmm.
So our eyelids will droop there, and it's essentially a tummy tuck around the eyes. And those surgeries are great. They use a laser to
Hmm.
do it. There's a couple great clinics in Toronto, and it's really, really successful. Most people
Wait,
that have
Neil,
it done, you can't even tell.
I know, I want to get it done. It's just a little bit more skin now, a little bit on the puffier side. I can't stand it.
Hmm.
But you did just mention though you can laser it as opposed to, is that right? You can laser the skin?
Well, the incision is done with a laser.
It is?
There are laser techniques to do it. So it's just a cleaner, quicker healing,
That's
less
so
trauma,
interesting.
less
I
less human error too when you can involve software and a laser.
That's so interesting. Melissa, did you know that?
No. So I had a blepharoplasty, as I've talked about on this podcast with Catherine before. I was awake. It was done under local anesthetic, so they didn't even put me to sleep. And I just remember they put this eye shield, which is kind of a freaky part because your eyes are open, but you can't see anything. And so you can kind of feel them doing things and hear them talking about it. So I don't know what they were using to cut it, but I didn't feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
And
remember.
and you can't see the scar, like no one would know.
I feel like I see one every 5 or 6 years that didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
And it's
rare.
easy, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's scary, right? Anything to do with your eyes or with your
Yeah.
vision is scary, but it's becoming, I think they say it's the number one most popular plastic surgery this year.
Okay.
Because it's just an easy,
Yeah.
Anyhow, so I wanted to ask one more question.
Mhm.
Why is it that people wake up with blurry vision? Like how
That's a dry eye.
but
Okay,
if you
so
had your eyes shut all night, why is it dry in the morning?
so when they're shut all night, there's less tear exchange.
Okay.
And are they shut all night? Right? I mean, some people do
Sleep.
and that kind of thing. And then it also matters what you did the day before. How well hydrated are you? How many glasses of wine did someone have? Were you out in the wind? What was your screen day like?
Okay. Because I've never noticed that more than all of a sudden in the past couple of years, waking up in the morning, I can't see my phone. It takes a little bit of time before I can,
So that can be a little bit of emerging presbyopia too.
damn
So
it.
you get up and it takes a couple seconds to get the muscle. Sorry.
It's okay. I don't need to look at those texts that
There
badly
you go.
for, right away. So just moving on away from eye health for a bit, but obviously, Neil, you're welcome to stay on while we chat a little
Yeah.
bit about the markets and when we talk a little bit about, I wanted to tell you, so last week we were talking about AI and how amazing it is. Do you use AI for anything
So it's
right
so
now?
interesting. We had some family in town, and my
Yeah.
aunt is a neurologist in Chicago, but she's a 75-year-old neurologist. So we were having a pretty wide open discussion about all this. There were a couple of people in healthcare in different ages, and you could see how, I was right in the middle age wise. The younger people are kind of like, why would you not use that? I mean, to do a literature search now takes me 4 seconds rather than having to tell a patient, I'm going to get back to you and combing through volumes and looking things up and checking references. It takes 4 seconds on ChatGPT to get a very good level opinion. My aunt is like, I would just never trust a computer. Right? So it's quite old school. And I told her about one study that was done at a hospital in California. I can't remember the exact details, but they compared a triage doctor or nurse to evaluate a potential heart attack patient versus an AI generated 5 questions. The AI was more accurate because the biggest thing it took out was
Bias. They say
right?
the same
You're
thing
not
with,
evaluating smell, look, race,
Wow.
sex, cleanliness, any of that stuff, any watching their breathing. There's absolutely no bias. It's just pure clinical. And so I asked my aunt, and like, look, now that you know this, if you think you're having a heart attack, you go into that, and they offer you two streams. Would you pick the live person or the AI one? She says, the live person. Even in the face of that evidence.
there is something to a human. I think a human assisted by AI is
That's the home run for now.
Standard. That's the home run.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I can't remember what book I read it in. I think it was one of Malcolm Gladwell's books where they talk about same thing with a judge. So if they just compared a computer and just gave them the information about the file versus an actual courtroom judge, the computer did way better on just the facts because the judge becomes so biased about, well, the person seemed nice, they had a nice smell. We're biased by that. They don't look like they would have done something bad or, like it takes all that out. I've been using it a lot for literature searches. I use ChatGPT. That's probably one go-to, but also there's a new one called Open Evidence, specifically AI for medicine, and it's linked with like all the medical journals and JAMA and everything. So maybe your aunt would feel more comfortable with
I
that.
use it a lot for drug interactions.
Yeah.
There's just so many drugs and so many new ones out there now, and gives me an instant answer.
We had some guests I'm at the cottage right now, and some guests were actually using AI to create their own workout.
And supplement stack and supplement regimen. And you could say it can create a nutrition plan, a workout. It can tell you what supplements to take. And then it prompts you, would you like to know this? Would you like to know that? Would you like to know? brand. And so the same way that you can use AI in medicine, you can use AI in finance. And this is what we were talking about. Neil, do you mind us? Do you do your own investing or do you have like a planner or?
No, we use a firm. My wife and I, we know what we know. We know what we don't know. We don't have a lot of financial acumen. I feel like we've learned a lot in 25 years, but we use an investment firm and we're guided by them. Yep, we kind of have our eggs in a lot of pots. We have some real estate and some money in the markets. But
Yeah.
Catherine, this is your world, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that what's interesting, I guess what I would say is that look, always use investment firms. I used to work at Goldman and Deutsche Bank and William Blair in the States, and so I see a significant amount of value, 1,000%. I also think it's important to understand it and to be curious about the markets and why things matter, in part to be able to even have a balance and an equal conversation with whoever it is you're working with, and then also to challenge them if things aren't going well. And then I also think too, when you have your own self-directed account, so your online account, which you couldn't do 20 years ago, right? Or maybe 20, but the cost to trade on your own is so low, and there's so much more information out there now that I think it behooves people to try to learn about it. And that's what Melissa did. And I think she's done it really well. As an example of, she was putting her kids in front of talking about screen time, Netflix, you buy the Netflix stock. So, and that's kind of the Peter Lynch way of investing, who put Fidelity on the map many, many years ago, is kind of just if you use certain products or you have an edge, that gives you an upper hand, obviously, as it relates to investing. So, I just think that it's, I love investing in the sense that it really represents the world, right? Like the US Federal Reserve or the Bank of Canada setting interest rates. Well, like, why does that matter? It matters because that's going to be the rate that we pay on your mortgage or your car loan or whatever it is. So anyway, I just investing in the way companies act in the market are forward-looking mechanisms. So it's telling you what people are thinking about what's going to happen in the future. And on that note, and then we'll get into a couple stocks, but the market has really been on a tear, and it's really been led by, this is the US market, by tech heavy weights. But nonetheless, it does represent what the sentiment out there is, which is, a little bit up and away, despite the fact that we've got tariffs. And what happened this week was we had the CPI, so the inflation numbers in the States. At the beginning of the week, CPI came in pretty much in line with expectations. In other words, you're not seeing this big inflation bump on the back of tariffs. So the market continued to rally on that. Then today we had PPI, another inflation measure, and that came in a little bit hotter than expected, but it wasn't driven by trade-related items. So all of this to say, the market moved higher because they thought that the Fed would cut, I heard maybe even 3 times this year. And, when you lower rates, that boosts risk assets. Equities are risk assets. But then today that got a little bit tempered with that higher inflation. So, I just think it's interesting to take a look at the market reaction and stock reactions, and you kind of have a better idea of what's going on in the world. But, speaking of AI, so Melissa asked me to look at some of these stocks that have had great performance lately. And some of them, I guess, are meme stocks. In other words, they're driven higher by social media and posts and blogs and all this kind of stuff, which is not how I invest, Neil.
Melissa, do you self-direct your investing exclusively? You don't use any firm at all?
Zero. I started off through MD Management years ago, and then I started looking at it and I was questioning some of the investments and my returns, and so I decided to cash out and start doing it myself. Now, my father, he's a dentist, so he's not like was in the finance world, but he did a little bit, so he guided me a little bit, and then I had, partner at the time and Brett that, talking to Catherine, and sort of had my own plan on what to do. And then I've just sort of dabbled in it. So mostly I do very good like index long-term investing, but then I like to dabble a little bit through my TFSA in some trading with stocks. And so anyhow, I just enjoy it. Like I just find it's a hobby.
One thing I learned over the years is investing certainly is obviously very important and how much you make and all that. But our previous financial firm, we left them because they sold to someone else and it wasn't quite the same vibe and all that. But we learned that, great, make lots of money. But how much tax are you paying? that can really change your end. So
Yeah,
tax planning is just as important as where you put your money in.
percent. So we can talk offline with that too in terms of yeah, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, so some of these stocks that Melissa gave me were actually interesting.
See, I know this stuff. I follow this stuff. Right? Okay, talk to me. Tell me the ones I gave you.
Okay, so and I looked at the ones that I could get some research on. So there's a company called Nebius Group, NBIS is the ticker, and it's actually based out of Amsterdam, and it's an AI infrastructure play. So the stock, the revenue's up significantly, and over the past year, it's up 120%. But the revenue's up like 625% year over year. So it's a significant growth company within the AI play. They have AI infrastructure. They have data partners. They've got one of their divisions actually has a network of human specialists to train individuals to learn how to use AI and LLM. So if they get displaced, my understanding is if they get displaced in their job, they're actually learning new skill sets, which I think is really interesting because that's one of the issues that people have with AI. So that's apparently one of the divisions. They've got a number of different divisions. They've also got an automotive division, I believe. So, the revenue, as I said, has been up significantly. It trades at an evaluation basis price to sales 16 times, which doesn't seem too crazy. And it just looks interesting. They've got strong demand. It's accelerating. They're expanding their AI customer base. So there was that one. So that's Nebius. There was also one called, see, now I have to pull it back because my eyes and my writing is bad. Rocket Lab, which Rocket Lab is a company that deploys satellites, so rocket launches, much smaller than SpaceX's comparable rocket launch. So it's called Rocket Lab again. RKLB is the ticker. It's up 350% over the past 5 years. ARK Investments is one of the top owners of this. Remember, ARK is Kathy Wood, so she's all into, these really growthy stocks. These stocks are speculative. And, I thought it might be also important to know what does that mean when you buy a speculative stock? It means that it's high risk and potentially high return. It's perhaps an unproven business model, lack of profitability, depending on more financing. Maybe they have a lot of debt. They probably don't have any earnings. So those are speculative stocks. And what I thought was also interesting, though, on this, Melissa, because I know you like to, to take a look at some of these. There was the comparison that if you put, $1,000 in Netflix back in 2004, that $1,000 would be $653,000 today. If you put $1,000 in Nvidia back in 2005, $1,000, it would be $1.1 million. So for you, Melissa, because you do like some of these stocks, and I thought it was an interesting way to do it, maybe you put $1,000 in a Nibius.
Just a small percentage of your portfolio. But I mean, if you're talking to somebody who is a bit more of, moderate to high risk, like what portion of a portfolio can be speculative? Should it be 3% of your portfolio speculative, 5%, less?
You know what? Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that at all. I don't normally do speculative stocks, but these ones from a fundamental basis actually look somewhat interesting to me. And I thought maybe it would just be 1,000, like even though it's, not much, maybe. There was one other one though too. It's called Archer Aviation. The ticker there is ACHR. And think of like the Jetsons. So they're developing.
That's why I liked it. That's exactly what I thought of.
You knew what this was?
Yeah, I like the idea of I always think flying cars. Like we should have like flying cars should
So
be.
Melissa, are you finding these just
Good question.
being interested online and doing
Yeah, I follow some Instagram accounts that specialize in these things, and they come up on my feed. And so the ones that I find interesting, I look up. I use AI to look up and read about. But yeah, it's through social.
So given that now you have an expert opinion here that's saying these three, and as she said, quote unquote, actually look good.
Well,
does that would that sway you? Would that sway you to taking $3,000, putting $1,000 in each one of these?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I would. because it's that to me is gambling. So I look at investing. Catherine and I have talked about this before, the difference between investing and gambling. And a part of it I would think of as more of like a gamble. That would be a bit of I think this might be a gamble that has better odds than just,
Okay,
the craps table.
but Neil, I have a big issue with Melissa relating investing in any way to gambling,
Yeah.
because to me, the people who really invest, you're really doing your homework, you're looking at the fundamentals, you're making a decision as to whether or not it suits your style and your time of life. How many more years do I have, and will this make sense in terms of the investing timeline? And so to me, it's not gambling at all. But what I would say or suggest is that you look at this as a speculative investment because of all of those things we just mentioned, right? The lack of profitability for some of these companies, not all of them, make profit, but I would look at it that way. I really would. But interestingly, so Archer Aviation, it's electrical vertical takeoff and landing. I think apparently it still has a long way to go, like in terms of the theme of it, but this company actually has a number of partnerships already. They've got a deal with United Airlines to build some. They've got a diverse customer base, so that validates almost the demand. They've got some partnership in Abu Dhabi, also Japan Airlines, also in Korea, and also in India. And then you have to think, what's the use case for this? It's going to be somewhat commercial, and then also commercial, and I suppose taxis as well, like flying taxis is another thing.
Yeah, I'd say aviation is an industry that's unlimited growth potential.
That's
They're
interesting.
talking now about if they can get passenger jets to break the speed of sound, you could get from Toronto to London in 2.5 to 3 hours. You can get from Toronto to Sydney, Australia in 7 or 8 hours. That would change everything. I mean, you can't drive to Ottawa in 3 hours, right? If you could fly to London in 3 hours, that would change business travel. You could literally fly in for a meeting and fly out.
Yeah, interesting. And the initial use case for this would be to replace helicopters. And apparently yes. So apparently this would be safer, they say. It's also 100 times quieter, which is interesting.
The issue with the speed of sound thing is over residential areas, you can't fly at those speeds. So if this changes that, then that's significant. Sounds like you should put 1,500 into it, not 1,000.
Yeah, there you go. Apparently, the UAE is targeting a launch of commercial air taxis in the fourth quarter of 2025.
I mean,
So
that's soon.
that's a month and a half away, right?
Yeah. And apparently the idea is that that there's 100-mile range and 150 miles per hour.
You just back your head up again to get better focus.
I
The
know.
problem would be the lanes, though. They'd have to figure out the lanes, like how
It's same lanes as what's out there right now.
There's no lanes in the air.
Paths.
There are. So my dad was a air traffic controller, and
wow,
while it might seem random, there's definitely a science to it all.
I think that would be so futuristic, so cool. And sometimes if you look back to these cartoons, a lot of the time they predict the future,
Oh, it's the Jetsons.
Yeah,
It's the
that's the
Jetsons.
best.
And all three of us know what the Jetsons is.
That's why we have presbyopia.
That's right.
So
guys, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Melissa, you and I have met before.
Great.
Catherine, it's been great chatting with you, meeting you. I have a pickleball date with my daughter.
Oh,
Wow.
So I am going to step out.
Okay.
Sounds great.
I'd love to chat with you guys again, and this has been a real pleasure. Melissa, thank you for setting this up and inviting me.
Yeah.
And you guys are wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Neil. And I've got to come in and see you. And Melissa, you actually gave me his name and number.
Yeah, my pleasure to see you.
Okay. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks,
awesome.
Neil.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. So Melissa, I thought these were pretty interesting.
Yeah, because sometimes, you can find out. I liken it also to health. You can still see, like if I see medical things online, like if I follow health accounts on social media, reputable ones, like let's say I'm following Medscape or WebMD or whatever, they're posting things that are real. It's not just nonsense, but then you have to dive a little deeper and read the article and see, if you're just following random health TikToks, no, sure, it might not be,
Yeah.
based in, you always have to do your homework on it, but I like following these accounts. It's like I was sitting with other people the other day and we were talking about if you looked at your explore page on your Instagram, like I'll show you mine if you show me yours. You know the explore page? When you go on it, yeah, you're like, what? Where do I even take a video? Okay.
No.
So if you go on your page and you just press search, so let's say like the search, what videos are they suggesting to you?
Oh.
So they're getting a sense of who you are based on what they're pushing to you. So some people, my friend was like, I get pets. I get different funny videos with cats and with stuff. I'm like, I don't get that at all.
So where do you go to do this? You go on your
homepage, like you go on your Instagram account and you put that little magnifying glass at the bottom, which is search, and you'll see like a bunch of different things that accounts that you don't follow they think you might like looking at. And then
I get a lot of.
You do get pets?
Yeah.
I get no pets. So that's so funny. I get things with like beauty, like Botox and filler and those types of things. I get comedy, like I get a lot of like funny things. I get inspirational quotes and I get finance things. I get a lot of like stock. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I actually don't use.
You don't use Instagram to look at these things, so we wouldn't.
No, I don't.
You.
That's interesting. So yeah, so I'm gonna actually do a little bit more homework on them, and I just thought it was interesting. Put $1,000 in,
And there's also a difference between, we talk about investing and then we talk about trading. I don't do a lot of trading. Almost everything I buy and I hold.
Yeah.
But, there are some times, like you say, you do a combination. You actually do have some stocks that are more for trading. And so I think some of these could be, you maybe put some money in, you say, okay, where would I be happy at selling it?
Well, these are going to be growth stocks. Like these are either, going to be thematic plays, right? Like the Neel Vyas is an AI play. The Rocket Lab is obviously more space related. So, and then Archer Aviation. So these are growth areas.
Yeah.
This isn't like buying a tobacco company or an energy company.
It's going to pay you a dividend that's been tried and true, around for years.
Yeah.
Around for many more. Yeah. These companies may not exist in, so you're not, this isn't something to make up a large percentage of your portfolio.
But what I would suggest though is I'm going to buy these in my TFSA.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So that I don't get taxed on the gains, assuming there's going to be some nice gains.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then you have room to, yeah.
Yeah. So today I played golf. I worked out with my trainer. I did a sauna. I swam. I researched your companies. And now I'm off to I won't say the bar, but I'm off to an outdoor patio in Muskoka.
That's fun.
I should get going too. What are you up to?
So I went out last night, actually. I went for dinner with some girls and then we had drinks after. And so that was enough for me. My son got back from overnight camp today. He's been at overnight camp for 6 weeks. So I saw him today. So I'm going to do whatever he wants tonight. Whatever.
I wonder if he'll want to go to McDonald's.
Well, we already been there. That's where we went for lunch. So of course I picked him up from the bus. First stop, McDonald's. I had a Coke. Nice. Their ice cream cones were so good. There's probably so many chemicals in there, but it's delicious.
Wow.
Those are some delicious chemicals.
So nice. So good. Okay. All right.
Have a good time.
Yeah. Okay. We'll chat later.
Later. Bye.